Can you complete Gran Turismo 7 using only stock cars? To find out, I'm going to try and beat the entire campaign with these rules. No performance tuning or changing aerodynamics, no engine swaps or custom wings. There are a couple of exceptions though. Dirt tyres are allowed for dirt events. There are certain points in the game that force you to upgrade a car. This is allowed, as long as I do not use the car or I discard the car. That way we don't get soft locked. With everything else banned, let's begin. I start my challenge run by buying the Mazda Demio and I finish the first 2 races. I then unlock the license tests where I complete the B license, with all golds giving me the Renault Clio RS Trophy and the Mitsubishi GT-R. I use the Renault Clio to finish Sunday Cup Classic and move on to the first championship of the game, which is just the same track twice. I use the Mitsubishi GT-R because it has 4-wheel drive, because I know the second race has rain. Nothing of note happens in every race I've covered. I get my prize car and start making work of the Japanese FF races. After that I decide to fully complete all of the license tests, which earn me a lot of money and some strong cars, including the Mercedes AMG GT Black Series. Using a couple of the tickets I earned from the license test, I get both a Mitsubishi Lancer road car and a Dodge Viper, 2 very useful cars in my challenge run. This is a point where the game forces you to upgrade a car. There is no way around this, so as per the rules, I can tune the Mini as long as I don't use it. If there is a point where I have to use the Mini, I will buy a new one in order to get rid of the upgrades. Using my new Mercedes-Benz, I get to work with the early races as to not waste time. These include the European Sunday Cup, the Tokyo Expressway Championship, the Japanese FR Challenge, and the European Sunday Cup 500. There are 2 of those, for some reason. Next is the first slightly difficult race. Allowing only French cars, I use my Alpine A110, which I won from the license tests. The first placed AI car uses the same car as I do, but as this is one of the early races, it doesn't give me much trouble. The American FR Challenge is next, and serves as the closest races yet. Mostly just because these races are so short and the AI starts using decent cars. I use my Dodge Viper that I got from a ticket. It takes until lap 3 on Blue Moon Bay to get into first. A mistake at the second race at Laguna Seca stops me from overtaking first on the second corner. I catch up not long after and overtake first. And the final race at Willow Springs was incredibly easy, taking first on lap 1. Next we have the American Sunday Cup. I don't understand why it's called the Sunday Cup, but it doesn't really matter, because winning the first race at Blue Moon Bay gives you the easiest way to break the progression of Gran Turismo 7. By giving out a Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 package, a 650 horsepower monster that can be upgraded to almost 1,000 horsepower. Of course, I'll have to keep it stock for this challenge. As you can expect, the Camaro absolutely dominates the next race. I take what is most likely the worst picture ever taken on Gran Turismo 7 and unlock the next championship. I won't bore you with the championship. Once again, it's the same track forwards and backwards, so there's nothing to say about it. After completing the championship, it unlocks the Legend Cars dealership. This allows us to buy special cars from the 1900s. These include cars such as Group C Le Mans prototypes, Le Mans cars from the 1960s, special road cars, and special race cars. It is possible I may need to use these to complete the challenge. Next is a Japanese Clubman car. I use my Lexus LFA. Once again, there are no issues. Passing first before the last lap even starts. The 4-wheel drive Japanese challenge is next. I used my Mitsubishi Lancer Evo Final, Group B road car, which I won earlier. I noticed a few issues with the Evo. Due to its weight, it tends to understeer slightly, paired with its 4-wheel drive, but it doesn't change much. I'm still able to come first without much difficulty. The next form of progression forces me to buy a rear wing for my car. I immediately remove the wing, as this is a form of upgrade. It is now time to start the Asia Championship, the first proper championship in the game, spanning 3 races instead of just the same track twice. I use my Lexus LFA, as it is still my fastest Japanese car. The Lexus LFA easily overpowers the AI, even with minimal downforce. The race was easy, winning by 8 seconds. The long straight on Fuji makes the Lexus far faster than the AI. Even with this, the AI is a lot more competitive. Whether it's due to the shorter track length or the technical last sector, it takes a lot longer to pass the AI, taking 2 of the 3 laps to pass first. Going into race 3 with a 4-point advantage over second, I can afford to come third to still secure the win. This race was by far the easiest of the three. The combination of the length of the race, the tight corners, and the long straights allowing me to beat them by 20 seconds, winning me the championship. The next events are incredibly easy without anything to talk about. I won't waste your time. The events completed are the European FR Challenge 550, the European Clubman Cup, and the European Championship. We now have the pickup truck race. This is the first event where I have to buy a new car. The only problem with this is the fact the pickup truck race is basically a one-make race, allowing only the Toyota Tundra or the Ford F-150. I buy the Ford as it's the faster option out of the two. Just because it's faster, do not expect this to be easy. I'll be going up against upgraded versions of my car, while I use a bone stock Ford F-150. The driving experience in the Ford is awful due to the fact it weighs 2,700 kilos and has dreadful comfort mediums, the second worst tyre in the game. This causes many problems to the car. It struggles to corner, is slow to put power down. Because of the height, it also makes the truck unstable, which also creates a lot of body roll. And because of the height, it also increases a lot of drag on the car, which also makes it slower. At this point in the game, the AI has a good few upgrades on their car, likely having 450 to 500 horsepower and weight reduction, while I have just over 400 horsepower and 2,700 kilos, meaning it's all down to how well I can drive the truck. I speed up the race instead of cutting, because every part of this is difficult from start to finish. But the race goes better than I expected. I thought I was going to be left far behind. But you can see the difference in speed as I drag race the AI to the first corner, and it just pulls away until the corner where I brake later, then taking my position back. I then have to navigate around 3 trucks all blocking the way. I use the sand on the outside of the track to pass the first one, and then I dive into the next corner, taking all of the available space, taking the next 2 positions. I then proceed to chase down first, using the slipstream to my advantage. The AI doesn't take the first part of the corner flat out, while I do, allowing me to close the gap. I brake late on the final corner to get the position on first. I then proceed to defend my position for all of lap 3. That is until the final corner of lap 3, where I carry too much speed and go off track, taking myself out of the race, marking this as the first loss. I do the same thing again, except this time I'd be more risky than last time. By the time I catch up the first halfway through lap 2, I once again play risky, throwing the truck up the inside of second, and then shortly after first. I almost made the same mistake again, swerving left to set up the next corner, and almost go off the track. Looking back, I don't know why I did this, instead of slowly letting the car rotate, but I finished the first race of the pickup truck race. If that race looked hard, then let me show you a race that's even harder. Race 2 at Daytona is 10 times harder than race 1. Remember when I said it would be all down to how well I can drive the truck? Well, that's all out the window. Daytona Tri-Oval is a track where I can't even utilise my one advantage, using the AI's poor cornering, because Daytona doesn't have a single corner where you have to brake. I was dreading this race, as I had no idea how I could possibly win. Thankfully, the AI rubber bands, which for those of you who don't know, where the further away you are, the slower the AI goes, and the closer you are, the faster the AI goes. We can use this to our advantage. Starting 12 seconds back, I use the slipstream from the slower AI cars to slingshot past them. I continue to do this until I get into 4th. The top 3 cars are now so far ahead, but I'm not close enough to rubber band as strong, and with no other cars, I just can't catch up. In a desperate attempt, I let the 5th place Ford pass, in order to try and use its slipstream to get ahead. But it just pulls ahead without any chance of winning. But this showed me something. Using the slipstream, I'm able to increase my top speed from 148 all the way up to 156. And if you look at the distance to first, it goes down from 1.4 seconds all the way down to 0.8, showing me that maybe I can somehow get close enough to pass first. Remember when I said one of the weaknesses of the Ford was its high drag? Well, we can turn that weakness into a strength. Using the slipstream grants an incredible increase in speed. And remember when I said there were 2 different types of car that can enter? And the fact that Toyota was the slower car out of the 2, it was now time to get incredibly lucky, because I need to get at least 2 Toyotas starting first and second in order to slow down the cars enough for me to slipstream them and get into first, before one of the Fords get into first. And no joke, on my second attempt I'm able to get a near perfect lineup, with 3 Toyotas in first, second and third, and a 4th one in 5th. It was now time to see if my crazy idea would actually work. Putting my plan into action, thanks to the Fords being at the back, it allows me to slingshot past them using the slipstream. By the end of lap 1, I'm already chasing down first. I get a really good slingshot to chase it, I carry the momentum down the back straight, and I take my opportunity to pass first. But due to the AI having upgraded trucks, that won't last long before the end of lap 3. I'm under attack from 7 different trucks on lap 4. The orange Ford F-150 attacks first. It attempts to move on me, but I force the opening shut. Thanks to me being able to use the radar, the blue Ford also tries to get past, but I defend it again. I successfully defended my position on the back straight. In the corner I can safely stay low. The AI can't pass me because it would have to take a wide line, which allows me to stay in front. On the final lap, 2 Fords attack at once. I block the left and then I quickly block the right, pushing another Ford off the track, nearly taking myself out of the race as well. I reach the corner and it's free until the end, as there isn't enough distance to the finish line for the AI to try another attempt. This race was done far from clean, but it shocked me that this race was actually possible. I show here that I didn't add any upgrades to the car. After that very close race, we have the American Clubman Cup. I once again use the Camaro ZL1 package, as it's still my fastest American car. Races are getting noticeably more difficult, now taking 4 laps to overtake first on a 5-lap race, instead of the usual 1 or 2. Soon I might have to buy a faster car. For the time being, it should be fine a little while longer. The race at Daytona is next. The race was much easier than at Laguna Seca. Overall, there isn't much to talk about this race, except for the fact that I missed my braking point twice at turn 1. But not losing too much time, and still able to win despite my mistakes. Special Stage Route X is next. This is just a top speed race. I was originally worried that the Camaro wouldn't be fast enough due to its weight and downforce, but it ended up being fine. I ended up reaching a top speed of 222 miles an hour. Without the slipstream, it was just slightly fast enough to stay in front a second. For the next form of progression, I had a wide body in American car. Applying a wide body to a car violates challenge rules. So I decided to buy a new American car and apply the wide body to it. After that, I discarded the car to get rid of it. Next up is the American Championship. I used the Camaro ZL1 again for this championship. Race 1 is 6 laps of Blue Moon Bay. This track, basically being a tri-oval speedway, combines high speed with fast cornering, makes for a fun and fast-paced race. The AI starts 16 seconds ahead of me, meaning I'm going to have to go really quickly to catch them. On the last corner of lap 2, I have 3 AI to pass. Using a small banking on the corner, I set myself up to get a good run in order to pass them before the next corner. I get past them all, and the Corvette on the outside into turn 1. The Corvette blocks my line, so I get a bad exit, ruining my speed. I very narrowly passed the Corvette and the Mustang, just barely before the Corvette almost caught the back of my car. I then get blocked again, this time by a 1966 Ford GT40. The Corvette then just barrels past me on the exit. We head side by side into turn 1, but the AI's upgraded brakes allow it to carry more speed into the corner. I take 5th position back from the Corvette, which has given me a really good battle. I easily pass the 4th place Mustang. The top 3 cars are now really far ahead, nearly 6 seconds to 3rd and 8 seconds to 1st with only 2 laps to go. This is not helped by the fact I ruined my exit on turn 1. I push as hard as I can to try and catch up to them, to no avail. I can't even get 3rd place, I end up with 4th. I realised that if I come first on the next 2 races, and the Corvette that came first comes second in both races, I wouldn't get enough points to win, so there's a lot more pressure to win the next 2 races. Daytona is next, and I feel a lot more confident with this. 5 laps of Daytona is practically double the length of the first race. Still not learning my lesson from the American Clubman Cup, I go off at the first corner at Daytona yet again on lap 2. I finally stopped driving poorly and started braking much earlier for future laps. I passed first on lap 3, diving deep into the hairpin and getting the move done. Nothing else happens and I drive it to a win. Luckily the Corvette that won the last race came 3rd, This means as long as I can win the last race, then I'll win the championship. Interlagos doesn't really have much to talk about. I get into first early into lap 3, and then I win by 12 seconds. I had done it. The Camaro was fast enough to win, which was a huge relief, not having to find another car to try and beat the championship with. The next form of progression wanted me to upgrade a Porsche to 600 to 650 performance points. I wanted to see if I could get away with using the Porsche 962, which I won from the license tests. I changed into it, but it doesn't count because it was over 650 performance points. So I wondered if I instead just bought a Porsche that was in that 600 to 650 performance point range. And as it turns out, yes, you can just buy a 600 to 650 performance point Porsche. And that counts as tuning it to 600 to 650, so that was nice. The Porsche Cup is next. This introduces us to performance point limited events. This car is rated 647 points and the maximum limit is 650. The first race is at Lake Maggiore. This is a great testing track to see how good the Porsche is. It's really good, handling like a race car with its high downforce and sports medium tyres. The race isn't too hard, taking first halfway through lap 3 and winning by 9 seconds. The second race at Spa-Francorchamps was interesting because rain was going to hit. At the end of the second lap, the rain starts to come. By the time I reach the first chicane, it's already starting to come down. I overtake first not too much later. This is where for some reason the AI drove incredibly quickly and gave me a really good battle for first. I hold it off until it gets a really good run on me, where we come side by side to turn 1. I brake later to block off the inside and keep it behind. The AI tries to attack and take the inside through the long left corner. I defend on the left, but the poor line makes me really struggle for grip. I slide the car through the corner and hold it off. I hold it off to a win, but only winning by less than a second. I find a really promising 700 performance point car, the Ferrari 330 P4 in the Legend Cars dealership. The only problem is the fact it costs 20 million credits. I don't have anywhere near enough, but I will be buying it before it leaves the dealership because this is most likely going to be the best 700 performance point car I can use and may be necessary for 100% completion. The last race of the Porsche Cup was at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, the toughest track in the game. The AI starts an insane 30 seconds ahead of me. Thankfully for me, I have done this track so many times, so I know the corners and can take the best lines. I dangerously pass 2 AI on the fast corner and rocket down to the hairpin. Passing a pink Carrera RS on the outside. I don't know what the AI was doing here, but it takes so much speed into the hairpin and goes into the gravel. I do a good overtake on a Porsche 959 and 904, taking them both from the same corner. Clouds start to darken, indicating rain can come into play. I forget that I'm using the sports medium tyres, and not slick tyres on this fast sweeping left, and touch the grass, losing speed. I dive into the carousel, taking second place, and chase down first. Taking it on the inside, I check the weather radar and see that the rain will hit the track soon. I extend my lead down to the mini carousel where the rain is starting to get close. I get onto the Dottinger Hoe just as the rain is starting to lay. I reach 189 miles an hour before needing to brake. The rain is now laying more. But I finish before anything really changes, winning by 8 seconds. Next is Turbo Cup. I use my Mercedes again here. Despite the performance point limit being 30 points higher than my car, the AI isn't even close to running that, running about 600 performance points. I easily beat the first 2 races of the Turbo Cup. Rain comes late into race 3 at Suzuka, around halfway through lap 4. By the time lap 5 starts, the track has gotten really wet. It doesn't affect my race much, but I do have 3 close calls. but other than that it didn't change much. I easily beat the Turbo Cup. Next up is the World Touring Car 600, our next championship. This worries me slightly. The cars I'll be going up against are going to be well tuned to nearly 600 performance points. This means I won't have the advantages I'd usually have, going up against high downforce road cars on sports mediums and sometimes sports softs, while I'll be using the sports hards. I decided for my first attempt to use the Lexus LFA. Being my closest car to 600 performance points at around 596, I thought this would be my best car I can use. There really aren't many cars that could be better than the Lexus LFA, so if that doesn't work, I don't know what car I could use. I'd likely have to try it over and over again if it doesn't work out, but I guess we'll just have to find out. Checking the weather radar shows that not only is the rain ending soon, but there's little to no rain expected for the entire race, which is really good. While I got lucky with the rain, after I got into third, it was very obvious the strengths and weaknesses of my car, and the top two AI cars had better brakes, better tyres, better downforce and likely lower weight. The only advantages I had were my driving abilities and the sheer raw power of my Lexus. I make a desperate move on the final lap to try and get past. I brake late on the inside and try and block them off, but I misjudged the conditions of the track, luckily blocking the Toyota Supra. I chased the first place Mazda RX-7, passing it before the next corner, using my power advantage over it. I hold it off to a win for race 1. Race 2 at Suzuka looks a lot more promising than race 1 weather-wise, but due to this track being very technical, I'm not sure how well my car will fare. The race starts and I already have my worries. I start 38 seconds behind first, while the rubber banding helps me catch up quickly to first. It also means by the time I start getting close, I'm left with less laps to win. This track is very similar to Red Bull Ring in the case of my advantages and disadvantages. Having 3 straights where I can catch up quickly and the rest of the track being technical. By the end of lap 3 I'm finally closing in on the top 2 cars, but with only 2 laps to go, time was running out to get this done. I stay with them through the technical sections and then unleash my power down the straight. First is now so close as the final lap begins. I pass the Toyota Supra and do my best to stay with it through the first technical section. I make a mistake on the hairpin going too deep. When I reach the straight, the Mazda is so close, I send my car as fast as I can down the straight, pulling alongside it at 158 miles an hour. But I have to brake more than the Mazda due to my worse tyres. I chase it down the last little straight towards the chicane. I try to take the inside, but I have to brake earlier, which allows the RX-7 to stay ahead. Floor the accelerator down to the finish to try and take first, and I pull up alongside it, but it's not enough. I lose by 0.073 of a second and get second place. We are now tied for points going into race 3. I feel a lot more confident with race 3. 5 laps of Dragon Trail was a lot better than 5 laps of Suzuka, playing more into my car's strengths. Just as I predicted, race 3 was by far the easiest of the 3. I have to make it past the Subaru in a pretty tight section of the track. I quickly make my way into first at the end of lap 3. The Toyota Supra, using its more powerful brakes, pushed me out of the way, allowing the Subaru to pass me as well. I used my power advantage down the straight to take back my position. I then continued to pull ahead all the way to the finish, around 6 seconds ahead of second. And the car that was tied for points with me came 4th, so even if I came 3rd, I would have still won the championship. I ended up 5 points ahead of second overall. This was by far one of the hardest events so far, but it's on to the next event. The next event is a race for German cars up to 700 performance points. I used my Mercedes AMG again for this event. The race at Catalunya was insanely easy but incredibly long. 7 laps is around 13 minutes long. I eventually win by 42 seconds, a huge contrast to the championship. While it was cool to see another AMG GT Black Series in race 2, it doesn't put up much of a battle. Nothing really happens in this race. The final race at the Nürburgring Nordschleife was surprisingly the shortest of the 3 races, as it's only 1 lap. The most interesting part was avoiding a spinning Porsche after it took too much speed. We get to see just how fast the Mercedes really is, reaching a staggering 211 miles an hour. Next is a Nissan GT-R Cup. Just like the pickup truck race, it's a one-make race for Nissan GT-Rs. While I own a Nissan GT-R, I know that the R32 is not going to be fast enough against the newer models, so I buy the 2017 Nissan GT-R. I look at the competition and realise I might have made a mistake. There is a Nissan GT-R Nismo, the fastest of all the GT-Rs, and it starts in first. I found a lot of problems with the Nissan GT-R. It felt like it had a lot of body roll, little to no downforce, very weak brakes, and a lot of weight, making cornering feel very slow. Due to the weak brakes, I misjudged my braking point. Unable to slow the car enough, I go off the track. I end up losing about 2 seconds to first place. Surprisingly, even with these issues, the AI was very slow. The GT-R Nismo, which I thought would be troublesome, gets overtaken by an upgraded version of my car, which doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm able to chase first down, overtaking it halfway through the final lap, and I drive it to a win. The second race at Dragon Trail is nothing important, so I finish it quickly. I have my doubts about the last race at Tokyo Expressway. Half the entire track is a straight line, which doesn't help me as the AI is probably running about 600 horsepower. On lap 3, I start to think it wouldn't be possible, although for some reason I'm still catching first, which doesn't make any sense, as the AI should really be pulling away, especially on such a long straight. On lap 4, the gap to first is barely changing. I start to think that I'd have to buy the Nissan GT-R Nismo. I decide to push it as hard as I can, using the entire width of the track, until I reach first, where I squeeze through the outside, right next to the wall. The AI doesn't get another attempt to take first back, and I win. It is now time for the 700 Performance Point Championship, the penultimate championship of the game. This championship features GT4 cars, which is the first time we see race cars, meaning that these cars will have low weight, decent power, high downforce, and race or slick tyres. This championship should be easier than the 600 Performance Point Championship. Unlike the 600 Performance Point Championship, I should have a few options this time round. I checked the dealership to see what I can use. The cars I find are the Aston Martin DP100 Vision Gran Turismo, the Porsche 918 Spider, the Ferrari F8 Tributo, the Ferrari 296 GTB, the Ferrari 812 Superfast, the Lamborghini Veneno, the Nissan Concept Vision Gran Turismo, and the Yangwang U9. I do find a race car, the Subaru WRX Isle of Man, which is the only car to come with slick tyres. All of the other cars come with sports tyres. I will not be using the Nissan or the Aston Martin because they are Vision Gran Turismo cars, which are not real life cars, and for the case of the Lamborghini Veneno, that car is locked behind an invitation, which is unlikely for me to get. And I know that the latest 700 performance point events force you to use slick tyres, as I don't want to only have the option of the Subaru in the future. I looked to see if the Ferrari 330 P4 is still at the Legends car dealership. Thankfully it is. Knowing I might not get another chance, I decided to grind the circuit experience, as this might be my only chance to get a really good car for 700 performance points for the future, especially if the Subaru is not fast enough for a race. After just over an hour of doing circuit experience, I earned 20 million credits to buy the Ferrari. Not only do I buy the Ferrari, but I also go from level 27 to level 41 due to how expensive the car was. It also means that I'm completely broke, with only 100,000 credits. It's not like it matters, because I can't spend money on much anyway besides cars. The penultimate championship starts. Race 1 is at Trial Mountain, a track that is perfect for me. 2 massive straights and a lot of slow corners that allow me to accelerate faster than any other car. Even on the corners I can match the AI's better handling on my sports medium tyres compared to their racing hard tyres. Just as I expected, the race goes really well. I overtake first on lap 4 and then I proceed to drive the car all the way to the finish, winning by 9 seconds. Catalunya should be easy, having a long straight and a lot of good opportunities for overtaking. I was wrong, this track is way more technical than Trial Mountain than I first thought, but the race starts out easy, getting into 13th as the first lap ends. I then struggled to catch the 12th place Aston Martin, taking a lot longer than I hoped to gain just one position. By the end of the third lap, I've got myself into 5th, and then I get myself into 3rd very quickly over the straight. Over the next lap, I barely even gain on 1st and 2nd. Over the final sector alone, I lose a full second. This is really showing a difference in grip between me and the AI. Getting to the final section of lap 5, I just can't even get close. I end up finishing 3rd. The final race is at the Nürburgring 24-hour, the longest track in the game and in the world. I was a lot more hopeful for this race than at Catalunya, because of the amount of straights it has and the near 1.5 mile straight at the end of the track, which would be a perfect overtaking spot if I need it. Even though this is the hardest track in the game, there isn't really a lot that happened, except for the battle for first, which was really good fun trying to catch it. I ended up winning by 7 seconds. I secured the championship, even though I tied for first. The game will make you the winner in the case of a tie. It is now time for the next events. The World Rally Challenge is the second race to feature race cars. It is a good thing that I already bought the Ferrari P4, because as it turns out, the race at Alsace requires racing tyres, which I never realised before. I change my car into the Ferrari and start the race. The race concerned me at the start. 3 laps at Alsace are a lot shorter than other races, being only around a 6-minute race, instead of an 8 to 12-minute race. Thankfully, there are only 12 cars in this race, meaning that first start's only 16 seconds ahead rather than the usual 30 plus seconds. The Ferrari felt amazing. It was nice to drive an actual race car rather than a road car. While it felt like it had a little bit of oversteer, it might have been just because this car is so low to the ground, and the track is really elevated. I pass first just before lap 2 ends, and I drive the car to a win. This is why I allowed myself to be able to buy the dirt tyres. The other 2 races required dirt tyres, and not a single car in the entire game comes with dirt tyres. And as I explained in the rules, I do not gain an advantage over the AI, as we are all using the same tyres. Upgrades that you see purchased are just the upgrades that the car comes with. I used a Toyota 86 rally car, which I won from the license tests. I've never actually used a Toyota 86. I'm happy to say it's a really good car. This race is one of the most enjoyable races yet. The combination of a fast car I've never used before and a really good track. The AI is by far the worst yet. Bearing in mind, I am not even using the fastest rally car in the game. I win by 58 seconds, which is hilarious, as they were only 4 seconds slower in the first race, even though it is the same duration, being around 6-minute races. I decided to use the Peugeot 205 Turbo 16, which I won from the previous race for the next race. The Peugeot is probably my favourite rally car, thanks to its low weight. Race 3 was honestly more fun than it was hard. Passed first on the back straight and I ended up winning by 39 seconds. It is now time for the penultimate set of races to this part of the challenge. You would expect these races to be quite difficult. This was not the case. The races were insanely easy. On race 1 I passed first just as lap 3 begins, and there aren't any troubles with the car or the rest of the race. I even lapped the last placed AI. I win the race 20 seconds ahead of second place. I would like to make these Ferrari races seem really close and interesting, but it's really hard to do when there aren't even any struggles. I passed first place halfway through lap 3, and I lapped 2 of the AI on the final lap. Race 3 did show something interesting though. Because my car is so low to the ground, it causes some interesting problems. The high curbs on Dragon Trail cause some really weird things to happen on this car. The best one was on lap 2, and the replay looks even crazier. But in the actual race, I passed first on lap 3, and then a lap 2 AI again. I win by 18 seconds. Something then happens I've never seen before when I claim this 4-star ticket. I'll let the clip play out. What? A 10 million engine swap. After that insane luck, it is now time to talk about the final championship and event for this video. The GT World Series spans 5 races: Deep Forest Raceway, Spa-Francorchamps, Le Mans, Mount Panorama, and the Nürburgring 24-hour. The AI use GT3 cars with racing hards, mediums, or softs, and the only restriction is that we need a car that's under 800 performance points. And for whatever reason, it has to be at least 100 performance points. I genuinely have no idea why they put that as a requirement. I decided to look for a new car that can compete in the final championship. Unlike the 700 performance point championship, I have a lot of race cars and hypercars to choose from. From the brand central, I can buy the McLaren P1 GT-R, the Pagani Zonda R, the Ferrari FXK, and the Aston Martin Vulcan. And just like with the 700 performance points, there are a few older racing cars, such as the CLK LM. But after buying the Ferrari 330 P4, I don't have enough money to buy any of these cars. My plan is to buy the cheapest car, which is the Pagani Zonda R, which is 1.8 million. So it's back to the Camaro to grind out 400 grand. About half an hour later, I buy the Pagani. I decide to give the Pagani the old race car livery from Gran Turismo 3 to Gran Turismo 6, made by someone named DJ Squill. I reset the wheels back to original, as they can sometimes change the performance points. I look at the settings on the Pagani, and I'm very pleased to see that it is very low to the ground, has low differential settings, and around the same downforce you would find on a GT3 car. I checked the ECU to see the power curve. Also, another thing that I never explained was that I'm not allowed to change the ECU power output, as I'm sure you would expect. It was now time to put the Pagani to the test. Race 1 was perfect to see how the Pagani drives, and I have to say, it's incredible. Having over 700 horsepower combined with just over 1,000 kilos and having a lot of downforce. This makes it a really worthwhile purchase. First gets to start 30 seconds ahead once again. I make my move on 4 cars, passing the Dodge and the Ford on the inside, then passing the next 2 cars before the next corner. I dive up the inside of first and second, taking the lead into the hairpin, and then I use my superior power to pull ahead. I stay in the lead and win race 1 by 6 seconds. We now have race 2 at Spa-Francorchamps. This race favours me heavily for my large amount of power. I quickly make my way into 10th at the end of lap 1. I then chase first and second throughout lap 3 before passing them coming to the end of lap 3. I continue to extend my lead all the way to the finish, winning by 12 seconds. Race 3 is at Le Mans, which surprisingly enough is the first time we drive this track in the entire challenge. We reach 203 miles an hour with the help of the slipstream, and I'm already chasing down first before lap 1 even ends. This is my favourite section of Le Mans, especially in a car like this. I love its high speed cornering and you have to be gentle with the throttle to avoid going wide. I pass first just after lap 2 begins, and I drive it to a win. Definitely the easiest race in this championship, winning by 13 seconds. Race 4 is at Mount Panorama. The tight corners will really test my car. The race starts and I begin to make my way up the order. This Audi R8 for some reason takes way too much speed, with the wrong line and crashes. The next car drives so slow through this section I almost crash into it, but I managed to avoid it. 3 cars tried to block the entire road, but I used the grass and overtake all 3 of them. I don't know what it is with the AI, but for some reason they just cannot take this corner. The RX Vision crashes on the same corner as the R8. I have a good battle with this Toyota on the incline of the mountain until it drives really slow on the long left corners. The AI drives way slower than I expect, and I crash into it. First and second drive so slow that I barely even have to engage the throttle. I make my move into first on the straight. Visibility drops to the final lap as the sun sets behind the mountain. Midway through the final lap, you can really tell it gets dark quickly. It doesn't affect me much, and I drive to the penultimate win. The final race is at the Nürburgring 24-hour, which is a perfect way to end. Instead of talking about the race, I think it's better to reflect on this challenge. Playing Gran Turismo 7 without upgrades was honestly way more fun than playing it normally. I got to try out so many different cars with less grip, power, weight. It also meant that the AI wasn't completely useless like in a normal playthrough. My favourite races were the pickup truck race, the 600 Performance Point Championship, the American Championship at Blue Moon Bay, and the Porsche Cup at Spa-Francorchamps. These races were just so much fun to race against the AI, which is something I rarely see in Gran Turismo 7. It was so cool to do a challenge of a game I enjoy so much. I was originally going to do Can You Beat Gran Turismo 7 without the dealerships, until I realised it actually wouldn't have been very interesting, because impossible races wouldn't be possible just because I wouldn't have the correct car for a very specific race. This is why I did a no upgrades challenge. It meant that every race is possible to enter. It would just be how well I can drive the cars I never choose to drive. And this would make for a much more interesting video. I got this idea from a YouTuber named Dustin Eden. They did Can You Beat Gran Turismo 3 without any upgrades. I wanted to put that concept to Gran Turismo 7 because I genuinely had no idea if it was possible. And I thought, I have the game, I have the time, and I have the commitment to do it. Because I thought, what's the worst that can happen? Worst case scenario is that not many people watch it, but I get to do a challenge run I really wanted to do. So thank you to anyone who has stuck all the way to the end, and let's finish this final race. The sun has risen over the Nürburgring, and I drive down the Dottinger Hoe for the final time. We reached 200 miles an hour and almost threw the race away going into the chicane. Luckily I saved it, otherwise that would have been a very different ending. We drive down to the finish and confirm that it is possible to beat the career of Gran Turismo 7 without a single upgrade. Besides dirt tyres, but they don't count anyway. This video ended up taking me way longer than I expected. To do the actual challenge run, it took me about 2 weeks, or about 40 hours of gameplay. And editing has taken me about a month and a half, or about 70 hours of editing. If you can subscribe, then that would mean a lot to me. Subscribing won't earn me money, but it will allow you to stay updated on future videos. But what would mean more to me is if you just took a little bit of your time just to write a comment. Tell me what you enjoyed, what you didn't like, and most importantly, what you think I could improve upon. I can't tell you enough how much I would appreciate that, even if my facial expression doesn't really say that. And I want to improve for you, and I know that the microphone quality is not all that great, seeing as I'm using just a PS5 controller. So if you know about a good and clear microphone that's like less than £100, then I'd really appreciate it if you tell me. I've one more Gran Turismo video that I want to get out, and then I'm going to be starting to do live streaming of Undertale. But it's likely that by the time you see this video, the second video is already out. After I get that second video out, I'm going to be doing a lot of live streams. That way I'll be able to get longer videos out and you'll be able to experience it. I think that'll be the best way for me and you as the viewer for the future. It also means you'll be able to get to see my personality as well. There will be a part 2 to this video coming out at some point. I don't know when, because I've got a lot more projects to do first. But it'll probably be around 6 months to a year for part 2 to come out. I don't know, this is just an estimation. It could be more, or it could be less. I don't know. I will be doing the DLC of Gran Turismo 7 at some point, so if that's something you're interested in, keep a lookout for that. I have so many future ideas, ranging from Gran Turismo, to Undertale, to Deltarune, to Sonic, and even your own suggestions. I want this to be the type of YouTube channel where there's something for everyone. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in whatever I do next. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.